Okay.
So should I add them to like a separate Zoom? Or is there a way to post two at once?
Jen. They're all set up as a meeting. There's the work session. So I don't know who's on there.
Yeah, it won't let me, with the webinar, so that's what I thought. Instead of where I think,
So they're mixing it up.
Yeah.
So we may have to use the back of the camera.
I think.
okay, which is fine, we can talk about it, because I don't
No,
think she really cares.
very lovely and.
Yeah.
I thought it would be really great to like let the newer council members have
So,
at it.
how long are you with us? Like a year?
2 years.
2 years, oh, very cool.
When the next election happens. Mine is with it was so, yeah, who, one of the others. I think he got it.
Should we get started here in a second?
Yeah, we'll look for it, wrap up, get food for 1 sec, but.
That sounds.
I think I might too. He might be, I might be too.
Jim, do you need me to take notes? Did you have anybody?
Like, you just.
Oh, looking like the good guy.
Well, she's gonna be missing a couple meetings this year, so I'm like.
Yeah.
I
Welcome.
think that's new.
Hey, well, come on in.
Like that.
Anywhere you want, you're welcome to pull in people, or Sarah, you're welcome to send your sustainability role, under all the responsibility.
What is Nikki
responsibility?
I feel like I'm being weird too.
And I was like,
Yeah, I got it. Okay, good.
it was like.
It should make it a little easier for that. Yeah.
I already put Jim as a
And I was like,
note.
this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very.
And I was like, I would never go for like.
Thank you, Jim.
I would never.
I know, they're going, they might be James on there, because that's their official.
No, James, Jim is Jim and James is
Okay.
James.
Okay,
Yeah, that works.
perfect.
All right, should we call the meeting to order?
Recording in progress.
All right, so, yeah, 5:32, call the meeting to order. I guess, we'll start with roll call.
All right, Miles Kaufman,
Here.
Lisa Barnes. Here. Michelle Desir. Here. Nikki Hewitt.
I'm here. Virtually.
Sarah Nick. Here. Jim Zarsky. Here. Don Palau.
Here.
And James Bunser is present.
All right, next on our, meeting is the approval of the agenda. Did everybody get a chance to look at it, or are you looking at it right now? Any questions, comments, suggested edits?
It's quite an agenda.
All right. I'll give you another few seconds before we make a motion to approve. So anybody has a motion to approve?
I move to approve the agenda as published.
Second that? Second. Miles, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, agenda approved. Okay, we're moving along here. Public comment. Do we have anybody on the Zoom and or in, I know we got some guests here, but I think you guys all have. You guys are on the agenda. Okay. All right, so no public comment. All right, we'll turn it over to Jen, I guess maybe Jen, right with the full of food. So,
I'll be honest, I don't have any updates today, but thank you. I'm very excited to be
yeah,
here. Hi, Kate. So,
Hi, long time no see. Sorry, I sound terrible. I sound a bit funny. My voice is a bit scratchy.
that's okay. I haven't seen you in a long time, so it's nice to see you.
Lovely to see you.
Thanks. I'm excited. I have a lot to learn. I'm always enthusiastic about everything, all the work that you guys are doing. So thanks for having me, even though you had no really say in it. But
Thanks for adopting her.
yeah.
do you know everybody, Jen? Like, should we go around and do kind of brief intros real quick?
Yeah, please, because a couple of you, I think I'm just meeting tonight, and so, yeah.
Why don't we just do a quick brief intro and just who we are, whether we do sustainability for a living or we're just here because we're passionate about it. Both answers are good. Okay, yeah, I'll start off. So I'm the acting chair for now. I was the vice chair until Mike got elected. Jim Zarsky is my name. And I've been working in the energy efficiency field for my whole career for 25 years, energy consulting firm. And so I do a lot of work with building energy efficiency and retrofits. lead consulting and all that kind of stuff. So I do the work professionally, but I'm also a big believer in practicing what I preach. So I actually do a lot of stuff personally too. So, and I've been at ACES now, I think 6 years, 6.5 years, I've been on ACES. So, all right. Michelle,
I live in Rock Creek, and I used to work at EcoSec. I'm retired, but I volunteer for EcoSec. In fact, I'm giving a tour of the VCRC and trying more. If anyone wants to join me. And soil science and the soil food web and biodiversity is, along with waste reduction, are my big personal passions. There.
Lisa Barnes. I'm an engineer by training, environmental engineering. I did it for a while. And the final 15 or 20 years of my career were in sustainability consulting, primarily greenhouse gas and sustainability reporting. So now I'm retired.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thanks.
And then, okay, well, you're me too.
I'm just a guest. I'm Paul Bousquet. I'm in Go Electric Colorado, and we are a community-based social marketing program to get people to change their behavior and install electric equipment in their homes and love them when they're in.
Cool. John Shalau. I've been on ACES for 3 years now. I retired from the Coast Guard Reserves, and then I worked in software project management. Now, yeah, like I said, I'm retired, but I just started a job a couple days ago at Whole Foods. That'll keep me out of trouble.
They're a bunch over there.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Sorry.
I'm Jen Cowish. I'm a council member, been on the board for 2 years, came up through the planning commission and park. I do know most of you or have had some engagement with most of you. I don't think we've met yet.
So I think truly only like my interview.
Yeah,
with the board,
yeah,
but,
That's
yeah.
like a lot of people.
Yeah.
They're like, okay.
What's your other job?
So I do real estate and I also work at CU Boulder supporting the Naval ROTC. So I'm prior service and my husband is in the military also, and he's about to retire in March.
Air Force, Army?
Air Force.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and that's what brought us here, military brought us here in 2020, so I haven't really been here that long, and a lot of my community work has been with the fire recovery. And that is ongoing, like I lobby in DC for the fire victims, go to Maui, LA is on the radar now. So that's probably like a passion for me. And I think where a lot of this work comes in is like the rebuilding and sustainability and like what is that gonna look like when there's a blank slate and you can do whatever you within financial reason want with how you're gonna build your community back. So I love that part of it. And we started a veterans group, so
I heard about
so I
that.
definitely hit you up on that. So, yeah, sorry.
No.
that's great.
Yeah.
I'm Sarah Nick. I moved to Superior in, I guess, 2023, August, and I joined ACES this past August. I'm a master's student studying sustainability, specializing in urban resilience and renewable energy. And I'll be graduating in May, so just starting my career, yeah. So if anyone has sees job openings, hit me up, we're there. But yeah, just starting my career and really trying to focus on municipal and community scale sustainability implementation, so.
Big need for that.
Miles Hoffman, and I've engaged online a few times. So I'm half-time at Boulder Valley School District, sustainability and energy analyst, and half-time at Boulder County, Oscar, the Energy Smart program. Yeah, I've been here for 3 years or so.
Awesome. I'm Alexis Bullen. I'm the sustainability manager. I've been here for about 2 years now. And we're just really thrilled to have you. I think your voice on equity and inclusion is going to be really helpful. That's maybe you've seen the ACES work plan. I know it's going on Monday.
Yeah.
And that's a new bucket that was added this year of how are we making sure that the programs that we offer and everything else are including all of our residents, including renters and other things, which is not easy, as you know, but
It's not, it's often a lot of good ideas, but like it's very difficult to implement some of them because everything takes money and. Yeah, resources that we are short on, so, yeah, that's awesome.
So I think that'll be a great discussion for this year.
And then Nikki, you can tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sorry. I'm the last one, aren't I? Nikki Hewitt, we know each other, Jen. Nice to see you. So I've been on the committee, I think, for about nearly 2 years. I lose track of time. It's gone so quickly. I kind of fell into the field of sustainability, really, and climate change. Ironically, I started with an oil and gas portfolio working for the UK government in the trade department, and that transformed into a low carbon portfolio over time, covering the Southeast Asia region. I moved into climate policy after that, representing the UK Foreign Office. And I guess recently what I've been doing is I've been working in finance. It sounds really horrible working in finance, but I've been concentrating on carbon credits and advising a financial firm on sort of business development activities around carbon credits. So that's been pretty interesting. And I guess that's kind of it about me.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. That's helpful.
We're lucky, we got a really sharp group, experts professionally, passionate. I don't think there's ever been a nay in every single one, any one of our votes, like, we're always like, vote yes on everything, because we love sustainability. We're passionate about it.
Yeah, we did a little bit of this on recycling weekly pickups.
Well, we did, then we voted yes again.
Yeah. Sticker parent.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't comment on the other committees, I'm sure they're great groups of people too, but we're lucky here, ACES has been a great group and, you know, it's fun team, so we're lucky to have you and bring some new perspectives.
Saying that very early, so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay, ask me.
I'm excited to.
All right, well, cool, the next thing on our agenda is the update from town staff,
All right.
from Alexis, so shoot away.
Well, as mentioned, the ACES work plan is going to be on the board agenda to approve on Monday. So Jim has already volunteered to be there to answer questions, but of course, anyone from ACES is welcome to go in person or online. Just to share anything. It's not usually a whole discussion, but just to kind of represent ACES. The waste contract, I figure everyone would want to hear what the status of that is. So our contract is signed with the Republic, so that's very exciting. We have our kickoff meeting next week. You know, people have been out of town for the holidays and everything else. So we will be talking about how to really get rolling on that. There should be a postcard going out at the end of the month. We've been compiling a list. As you can imagine, there's quite a bit on the back end side of billing and everything else. So I've reached out to all the HOAs on the contract. So I've heard back from most of them. They are switching over to individual billing, so that's gonna be great, everyone we've heard from. But as you can imagine, there's still.
Did you hear back from Rock Creek?
Well, Rock Creek isn't on it yet.
Oh, that's right,
So,
no,
yeah.
I
So
saw, got it, down the road.
we did reach out to them as part of our initial
Yeah.
engagement. We did hear back, but we heard we don't want to engage. So, that will be a future
Yeah.
item to tackle,
Yeah.
but for those that will be switching imminently, we've been trying to reach out, especially the ones that are group billed right now, just to find out how they want to proceed with that. So more to come on that next month, but I just wanted to assure you all that that is rolling along for our April 1st launch date. So that's the plan, and as you can imagine, there's gonna be a lot of community communications about that. I think from what I've heard from people are hearing that this is coming, but there is still confusion of the fact that it's only part of our community. So people in Rock Creek, I've heard from someone in Bell Flatirons recently. So there's a lot of people who are interested in these changes and the fact that it's coming, mostly almost all excited at this point. But just so you all know, as community members, I think that's going to be something we need to continue to communicate about, is kind of the phased approach to who this applies to and when.
Yeah, I talked to some of the Rock Creek people at the Christmas event and they were very depressed that they weren't part of it. They wanted to be part of it.
This is actually a good process in the sense that when you wanna pilot something, you kind of wanna roll it out to certain sections of the community, which Denver did not do in their waste no more contract, and now they learn. So I consider this a pilot. We're piloting it with 1,000 people in our community. We're gonna learn how to do it. We're gonna make some mistakes. We're gonna fix those, and then we'll be ready to roll it out to the larger community. So I think it's gonna benefit us, especially us, to do it and learn, because there will be things that we haven't thought about.
For sure. Related to it, just an update on grants. So we had our discussion about the Boulder County Sustainability Grant and what we can do for that. So I did submit the grant idea that we kind of all discussed of, kind of partly communications related to the waste contracts. We know that they tend to award it in February, so not a ton of time for that piece. So later in the summer, after it launches, then we can look at a behavior change piece related to compost and potentially hiring someone on for that. So,
and I think the piece that comes to that is food waste and really thinking about what we do for food waste.
Yeah.
Because there's huge behavior changes when it comes to, going to buy large things at Costco. And you only have certain people at home and you don't have a large family anymore. And now it goes to that. And now you generate the compost. So there's a lot of behavior change after you implement it that people start realizing. It's like, oh, I threw all this away. It's like, how can I not buy it in the first place?
so there will be more opportunities for ACES to discuss particularly that piece. After we presumably get awarded, it's, we tend to get that since it's supposed to be allocated for municipalities. But I'll keep you posted. We also unfortunately did not get our Colorado Energy Office electrification grant for this building. It was the last round that they were doing for now, so it was very, very competitive. And our equipment is a little newer on this building, so they just had to make tough decisions there, but we'll keep looking. We're gonna get our roadmap back, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. From our consultant who looked at this building, who did a level 3 energy audit, and then they also, as part of that, were coming up with recommendations for grants they thought we could apply for, so we'll continue to work on that. Dashboard, we did a big update for 2025. So a lot of actions got updated, which is very exciting. Some of the KPIs, as you can imagine, our data is a little delayed for getting 2024 data. It takes a little bit longer. So I'll let you all know when that's updated, but that is exciting. And there's a new website. I don't know if you all know about that. But the Superior website got updated. So if you had bookmarks or anything else, things have changed a little bit. But it does look really, really nice. So just a heads up on that one.
Question on that. I didn't see, like tonight, I didn't see the Zoom link for our resources food meeting posted on the town website.
That's what I meant.
So they moved them from being posted on the calendar to be posted in the agendas. So if you go to the committee page where it has the drop down for the meetings and it has a little
Under
link.
meetings and agendas.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see tonight's meeting.
and then,
For the working groups, maybe?
Yeah.
working groups don't have agendas.
I mean, but the Zoom link,
So if you open the agenda for ACES.
that's for tonight, that's for this meeting.
So it's just the main link. That's the only Zoom link I think that's on the site.
Yeah, and then the Zoom link is listed
For
here.
this meeting.
For
Right.
this.
I'm talking about.
I know, we need to reestablish it.
The working group.
For working groups, so if we're gonna use the
Yeah.
town Zoom link.
Yeah,
And
those
post
all
those meetings.
expired, so I need
Right.
your updated information.
Right, that's what it is.
Yeah, we're going,
That's
sorry,
what it is.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, so Michaela and I can work on that, especially if we've had issues with the being right next to each other, not being able to start this meeting, so
Yeah.
Michaela and I can work that out.
Great.
And then Miles wanted me to plug, very good note that, the Vision Zero survey is still live through the end of this month. So it's not on Chief Superior, it's a Survey Monkey link, but we can send that out after the meeting if anyone is interested in participating in that and providing feedback.
What's it called? Vision Zero.
Vision Zero, so that's trying to have no traffic related fatalities in the town. Zero fatalities, so trying to look at how we have pedestrian infrastructure, bike infrastructure, you know, all the.
Transportation safety.
And it's a survey.
It's a survey talking about various methods of decreasing odds of crashes, accidents, fatalities.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right, cool. All right, so now we're on to working groups, and we do have a discussion point, big picture later on, but we won't cover that now. We'll just stick with the working groups. I guess, I can start off by operations. That's an easy one. We didn't meet. And we gotta reevaluate that now that we're down to two. So that we can push that discussion point to the end. Okay, outreach and education.
So we didn't meet either, because we
Okay.
normally meet on the first Wednesday, which would be last week. So we'll have to reschedule something for January between Nikki and Lisa and I, but we want to meet. Did we buy the digital board?
We did.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Do we know when it's gonna arrive?
It is here
It is
in the
here?
garage, and I have not looked at it yet. 'cause
Oh my
I
God, you
want-
didn't tell me. Yes,
That's great.
You wanna show up?
Yes. Nikki,
I'm so
it's-
excited. I need to see it.
Yeah, I know, we should have like an unboxing. next
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
Put it outside the door, just
Yeah.
meeting now.
Oh, I know, we need to figure out all the things about how it works. So that'd be a communications group task to help
Yeah,
you this year.
yes. Yeah, so we'll let you know, McKim, when we're gonna meet, formally. Resources to meet.
And then resources.
Yep, we just met, 20 minutes ago, half hour ago. Kind of just did big picture around the room, like who wanted to focus on what based on work plan or, you know, the proposed work plan. I think the biggest things are, John wants to make sure this, electrification website, Facebook group gets the support it needs, and Paul will talk about that too a little bit later. I didn't clue you in on that yet. But basically reaching out across the area, it's just another means of communication of home electrification for residents.
So it says electrified Boulder County.
Yeah, it started off electrify 80027, but I wanted to expand it to include Lafayette and everybody else, so just change the name to Boulder County.
Nikki's gonna keep working on kind of connecting with the chamber and businesses, extending business resources to our local businesses. Now gonna keep working on energy smart rebates, getting the word out around those, around the Excel rebates, hero funds. What's gonna change over the next 6 months with government funds being taken back or not, I don't know, but just making sure people are aware of opportunities out there. Michelle, I've spoken a lot on the waste contract and the switch by the end of January, building up the Eco Leader network as well in terms of offering resources to neighbors. And then we wanted to connect with you either in the next full ACES session or with the resources working group to really focus on what grants you're going to be approaching this year and figure out a way for our group to support that. Similar to that grant last year.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that. And just a quick plug, Nikki, we did already talk to the chamber a little bit about trying to get that sustainability award on their radar. So you and I can connect, via
That's
email or
great.
something.
The other thing we talked about is on our new webpage, and I haven't looked at it, but if we had a one pager with a QR code that folks can go to, and I know we're gonna talk about later of checking their bin size and stuff, but I want something that they could.
We're gonna have to build out our
Right.
entire web content for that. And
Okay.
we have updated it for what changes are coming, but we're gonna have to figure out the right way to do that. So,
Yeah.
after we meet with them and kind of follow their best practices, because also
Yeah.
it's a little confusing with it not being for everyone.
Right.
We'll kind of circle back, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it next month.
And then the only other thing,
Yeah.
After Facebook group, I
Um,
missed.
we're doing, so John talked about, kind of managing this, electrification Facebook.
And then.
Nikki is, extending work with the chamber, and with the chamber governors. Delivering sustainability resources to our businesses and kind of reaching out to the business community. I'm gonna be working on, basically all the rebates are available for home electrification, across the board, and there are a lot of them, a lot of changes. And then, one thing I also forgot from Michelle's, was creating an onboarding one pager, really just an onboarding for ACES. I know that there's, Michaela, you do your training for new members, Alexis, you meet with new members, but I think just getting people oriented to what it means to work on ACES, within ACES, and get with the different working groups within ACES.
resources and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else on working groups? All right, moving on to the meat of the discussion. Kayla, you get the prize for the longest tunnel line. So use it wisely.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank ACES for all of you, your support last year with adding these great components into events in order to help meet our town zero waste goals. Having an additional $15,000 to play with made a huge difference. And I think at the end of the day, I think the community, I heard nothing but great things about the reusables. I think the board had great feedback with the efforts that we were trying to make. It was a learning year with working with different partners and different resources, but I think we established a really strong foundation for moving forward. So I think that's the main reason why I'm here today, is to get in front of any potential changes, any additions, subtractions that we potentially want to make for our event season. We've gone from 4 events to 35, so anything I can do in advance is greatly appreciated. So let me share, sorry.
Kayla, do you want to be on the big screen? Do you want me to pass you this so everyone can see larger?
Well, it should, because I'm,
Oh, are you?
I share screen, yeah, I'm on.
Oh, you're on the, okay, you're on the.
Yeah. Oh, you've got to give me access.
So Michaela, your best 35 events, we're talking about the summer concert series, Chili Fest, Pancake Breakfast, the Winter Fest. Is there anything else besides the summer concert series and those?
We now have a farmer's market series.
And the farmers,
So it's first two officially no. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. That means more than one.
That means more than one, a monthly.
How exciting.
Kick them out.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really,
Yeah.
Downtown.
Downtown, Main Street, just like we did.
That one more?
event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't here. so-
Great opportunity to talk about
Yes.
local produce. That's really exciting.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
The local business, one of them in particular gave us feedback that they had their best day on the farmer's market, and like.
In our town?
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
And so you can see a trend like that, would happen again for them, which is gonna help it develop it now, it's for people.
That's good.
Okay, so last year I worked with you guys and we kind of mapped out what our goals were and how we wanted to kind of tackle zero waste and reusable. Yes. Oh, there we go. So we kind of went for like an easy introduction. We didn't want to hit everybody over the head too hard with it. We had the plan for using the reusable in advance. We made sure we added that to all of our event marketing pieces, websites, newsletters, and all of those resources that we did. That included encouraging people to bring these reusable water bottles. And then we also created a new criteria for our business vendors and all of the vendors participating, asking them to help meet some of our standards. I think that's an area I wanted some of your feedback on, if we need to hit them a little harder this year, or if we wanted to keep it, on the softer side like we did last year. So based off of kind of what worked and what didn't last year, I've outlined just some new 2025 goals. I think one of the biggest hiccups I've had, over the last 4 years, is getting anything reasonable for diversion reports. Diversion reports. If I can get anything at all, it's, oh, you had 5 trash bags and 10 recycle bags. So Alexis and I are gonna see if maybe Republic might throw us a bone and be another alternative. I've worked with Western, I've worked with, Waste Connection, and they've all fallen flat. So if you guys have any tricks of the trade, to try and get better diversion reports.
So I do know, when we did it for Chili Fest, we actually used the little scale to measure the bags. It was my own personal scale, which actually broke during that time period, because I used a lot. But that is actually one of the most easiest, efficient ways, and you get the data right there. So,
Okay.
because you have to bag it and then drop it. And wherever you're taking it to drop it, you just have a little clipboard there, you have the little scale that you hold, and they're not that expensive.
Like a suitcase one?
The suitcase ones, exactly, and then you just measure it and then write it on, you get your data right there. The key to that is to make sure that you've got good people who are making sure things are diverted properly. And the biggest problem that we had was the R cups ending up in the trash.
Yeah.
You know, R cups ending in the trash, or people in recycling, or people taking them. So R cup diversion, which you've covered, you know, reusable diversion, that's not going where it's supposed to be. So I think that, helps if you have, you know, some type of people, some wondering, but just to weigh it with that little simple device is the best, because you have to tie it and you have to carry it somewhere, and wherever you're carrying it to, that's where you have the clipboard, and you just use the device that keep in your pocket, or whoever's using it. We had one person dedicated to Chili Fest, and they recorded it, and so that gets your numbers right then and there.
And that worked okay with
It worked,
the
yeah.
numbers and with,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, what didn't work
You had a
was,
small amount of compost.
yeah, we only had 5 gallons of compost, that was, which made a lot of people eat chili, or they threw it away. But what didn't work was at the end of Chili Fest, all the canisters were still there, our volunteers left. At work, but Vargas went and gathered the rest of the bag,
Yeah.
and we didn't get that number. So that was the one thing to add, that at the end of the event, Vargas needs to weigh in, or the volunteer needs to stay another hour, one or the other.
But rather than having a little handheld one, there are larger ones for the bigger waste. I mean, you need a bigger one for the trash and recyclable.
Well, they're just measuring the bag, so the people have to tie the bags and throw the bag in the big dumpster anyhow. So they measure it, and then they tie it in. One of the biggest problems we had, in recyclables particularly, people will bring containers full of liquid. So we tell people, we need signage to dump the liquid out on the ground. I don't care if it's beer, soda, whatever. It's okay to pour that on the grass, on the trees. They'll love all the sugar. It doesn't matter. And then because the volunteer that did the recycling, whenever, it's spilled all over.
Yeah.
And it's messy. So until you actually do that job, you don't understand that, but, a way to get rid of the liquid that we need signs to say, don't deposit. That behavior change is a very hard behavior change to get people to do.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have signs, you have people, I've never had a perfect event that we've been at where people do that.
You need one of those like TSA.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's what works the best.
Yeah.
Is where you have a little bucket and say, pour your liquids here. The kids do it in the schools, you know, on Miles' job all the time. They know, they come up to the bucket, they pour their milk in there, they take their milk carton, empty milk carton, and now put it in the recycle bin. So they all know that there's a liquids bucket, but in any of our events, we never have a liquids bucket. And so that's a problem. So you have a can of soda, and half the can of soda is not junk, it ends up in the recycling bin with all that liquid.
Yeah, people aren't gonna feel good about pouring that on the ground.
It's a behavior change that we have to change them, but right now, if they do it, I've been in events that they've done it, we've just not done it here. So they will change, it just takes time, and to me, it's one of the hardest behavior changes to get changed over time. But
Michelle,
it does.
sorry, I don't want to cut across you. I fully support this volunteer weighing the bags, and agree it can be done with even just a simple, almost like luggage scale. Could we keep that with the pickup kit in the community centre, so that we can encourage our volunteers when they go out and do, you know, volunteer trash pickups, that they can weigh the trash? Or do we already have one in that kit?
Well, we need to buy one with some of our money.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, we haven't bought one yet with our kid, for our kid, yeah.
We should buy one instead of relying on yours and breaking yours.
So I think we'll need one for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about that with
Yeah.
town budget, but if ACES wants that with the litter kit, I don't think they're very.
very
probably, yeah.
But that's.
Well, a couple of them are volunteer projects, but I think probably a little more industrial.
Yeah.
Especially for chili fest with all of
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
But that way you get your data right then and there.
That's a great idea, thank you. So we used our cup for Chili Fest, 4th of July, and then the concert series. Big learning curve here, it's a great idea. Our world fell short in, they were supposed to provide volunteers and staffing at the events, they never did. We fell short on signage, they fell short on, collection buckets, and then ultimately, they didn't pick up after every event, so we weren't able to collect per event data. So we're working to try and either get a new rep. Boulder has a great one, we're trying to switch out or see if our rep can kind of do a little better this year. So, I mean, we had an 85% return rate, which I think is phenomenal considering, yeah, it was brand new. Yeah, yeah. And I think, who's the lady that rides her bike around?
Laura.
Yeah, I mean, she brought bags after each event
Really?
over, and I was so surprised how much
Wow.
exited the events, but that she was able to find from some
in
of
the
the
trash
local
trash.
trash bins.
Wow.
So the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So tell her thank you.
Yeah.
Please don't tell her.
She easily saved us probably $1,000 or more by doing that. So I think we've got some ideas on how to create better signage, put a little more pressure on our world to help support us a little better, or if not, just admit that they can't, and then we can make arrangements.
They grew way too fast. They took on way too many clients.
They did.
And they could not serve the clients, anybody well.
Yeah. And they admitted that,
Yeah.
so we do have them lined up, as a resource for this year. We did explore some other companies and some other options, but unfortunately, there isn't anything.
How does that compare to just giving out free Town Superior plastic cups people can take home, the dishwasher safe, all that kind of stuff? 'Cause I know on and off, I've seen Superior cups over the last 15, 20 years I've lived here.
People don't
Yeah.
want them now. They just want the beverage. They don't want the container
They don't
that
want
delivers the
it.
beverage.
It's a container, it ends up in a landfill.
Right.
Well, it's gonna end up in Goodwill and then it.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys squashed it, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, people love them and they pretend to love them as souvenirs,
Kids will grab 20 of them and
Well, kind of like chili fest bowls,
Yep.
the cups that we used to do.
that we tried.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So I think another area I would love your advice is on, if we want to look into returning our green team program throughout the year and having ideally a solid set of trained volunteers, to help run our zero waste and manage things at these events. Unfortunately, like, I don't have the staffing. Can't make you guys come out to every single event and help as much as I know you would love to try. So I really think we need some more hands on deck to monitor the zero waste stations in order to make any difference.
I think it's so important. Louisville Street Fair, if you've all been there, that used to be totally volunteer. And then they partnered with Scraps, and Scraps hires people and pays them to be the zero waste goals. And once that happened, their compliance to their goals is much better. So it should be a job that should be recognized and rewarded, paid. I do think people liked the gift card that we gave them. We gave $100 gift card to the people at Chili Fest because that was a big lift. And that worked. So I do think, and when you get your critical mass of people that can volunteer, they like it.
Didn't we buy more gift cards?
with the funds to get here.
How many do we have?
14, I think.
Oh.
So we have some for already starting out this year.
Okay.
Do the high school kids have community service hours that they have to?
They don't, they get those done and we can't rely on them on the
Okay.
good, so it's a good idea. And we've reached out to them, but they're never, right, it's never,
If they paid $100, they would probably.
they could do.
Well, they
We
could have,
They could have.
we advertised
Yeah.
for green team volunteer positions citywide.
I think there was one.
I specifically asked
multiple.
the youth
Yeah.
council, kids with want to, yeah, I think any of them.
Yeah, they're so busy.
Yeah.
They are so busy.
We had a couple high schoolers. There was a
Yeah.
little mix of.
It was a great
people and
mix of people.
ages and, I mean, we
Yeah.
filled up all the spots. I
Yeah,
don't think we had enough.
Except for one,
Chili Fest
there was
this
one
year.
person,
One person
yeah,
dropped out.
dropped out. But, I thought it went well. We had great quality volunteers, and say you don't always get that quality. You'll get people that leave halfway,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't get their gift card. And so I do think you build that subject matter within town, and it's recognized as a job, and you'll get people to do it, and it saves, you know, and we would support it.
yeah.
Have you communicated to the senior, like, programming too?
No.
That's like, that might be a group of people that see the value and would want to.
Yeah.
Or not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's-
But it's a captive audience in terms of like announcing things that they could.
So we have them for 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
An hour
I
pre-training.
remember if it was 4 or
I
5.
think it was 30 minutes for training.
Yeah.
So it was 4.5 hours.
3.5 hours because he does
For $100, that's more than minimum wage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of my asks then, would be help training them
Mhm.
and coordinating, and if ACES has the resources bandwidth to help.
I think we could definitely do that.
Yeah,
It helps to have a video, like a YouTube video, you can send to them ahead of time,
Yeah,
and then they watch that, and then we train them on site with what specific stuff. That's what I was gonna ask with the vendors, when the vendors bring stuff. And I remember when we look at the waste that's collected, a lot of things that were left over, that I did at the trash pickup after Chili Fest. After Vargas does such a great job at cleaning up, so you can't really get some intel. But the biggest things were lollipop sticks and plastic zip ties that are cut. And they blend into the grass. And so that's the hardest one. So those two, so zip ties would be the one I would talk about because, we talked about maybe giving out, carabiners, returnable carabiners to the town. I don't know if you'd get them back or if we bought them, but when you hang up signs with the grommets, you can use the carabiners instead of all these plastic zip ties. But that was what predominantly was all over the baseball field, were those two things, and food. But food, I'm not so worried about. It just petrifies.
Take care.
Yeah, the birds can take care of it, right.
So for these events, I mean, how many of the 34 events are we talking about that we need all these volunteers for?
How many more?
Is it just the big
they
ones?
would focus on the big ones.
So Chili Fest, 4th of July,
Chili Fest, 4th of
Thank you.
July, and the summer concert series.
oh, and the series.
Or it would be any ones that I think, my thought was any of the ones that we use reusable. There's a significant value in
Right.
having a green team or scraps or some sort of zero waste goal is in attendance.
Mhm.
Did you contact Scraps?
I sent out an email before the holidays and
Yeah.
hadn't heard anything back, so
Okay.
I'll circle back and
I'm just
see
curious as to what their costs.
what their pricing and availability,
Yeah.
would be.
I think that,
have you got any traction with NCL?
yeah, that,
I brought them up a couple times, National Charity League. They're with moms and
Yep.
mother-daughter program, they're always looking for volunteer group, I hope you're the contact, I think, for the town of Superior.
I think, so what happened? You reached out and they ended up, I think, coordinating and doing volunteer work with the chamber
Okay.
for the event instead of kind of like the town's volunteer positions. I think there's just kind of a miscommunication, because one of the chamber members is also on it and stuff too. So, but that's a good idea.
Do you always have the option to pay like in gift cards for these things?
So
Or is that
we-
just one event?
We've done that yet for the green teams for all events.
I
The
just
way,
have a lot of ROTC students that are broke college kids that are around in the summertime.
yeah,
And $25 an hour is fantastic.
yeah. So I
Things they could volunteer for, and these are like responsible. Like they show up for stuff they can say they're going to, so
that will be
we
amazing.
can talk about that later, so I can put out an announcement to them before the summer. Options that they choose.
So we have 14 gift cards left from our budget last year, and we have our full budget for this year that I'm sure we could easily find allocation for more. So I think we can identify the number of cards that we need for the year, that we could look at that at our next, I mean, we know that's between now and our next couple of ACES meetings, so we have some time that we could purchase based off of the amount that you estimate we need.
And I have budget too.
Yeah.
These are just Visa cards or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the preference though to not pay and try to fulfill people's volunteer hour needs? Is it, again, it's no longer volunteer, you're getting paid, right?
We don't get volunteers when we try.
So we tried scouts.
Yes.
We tried
Yes.
high schoolers.
Yes.
The ROTC is, do they need volunteer hours or they're just like a,
No, they want money.
they want one?
Yeah.
And NPL, and yeah.
And they stay here through the summer, but they can't really get a job because they have
I
to.
mean, I'm not against paying people if the budgets can afford it, but I just didn't know if that's
Yeah,
more of a, that's more
volunteer.
plan B, plan A is to try and fulfill people.
Yeah.
Michelle, how many volunteers do we have at Chili Fest?
11.
11,
Yeah.
okay, so there's 8, like if you count each of the summer concert series plus 4th of July plus Chili Fest. That would be, let's call it,
How many would you want at summer concerts?
So I think we could get by with just one. Yeah, it wouldn't be need to a significant amount, just someone.
Cause it keeps them busy. You don't want a basic
Yeah.
job that you're not busy, but that area is.
I might say 2 if we're gonna have someone weighing trash, and then also as a backup person, because we've had people drop out.
That's true.
You could just wait if you're, like, where do they deposit the bags at Summerfest?
So we have 4 stations.
Yeah.
Kind of throughout the venue.
And then do you pull the bags and bring them somewhere?
Yeah, we pull them and bring them, right now we pull them and bring them to
To the
the
top.
roll off.
A roll off,
That's
yeah.
parked in the parking garage. In an ideal world, I would love to make that a cart waste removal, rather than using the roll offs.
Yeah,
Um,
you could just, necessarily like rent a cart or 2 that you just put right there. And then you roll them to roll off at the end of the event.
So we're gonna talk to our public about
Okay.
that, because that's what they do for
Yeah.
our night out in Lafayette, it's all
Exactly.
carts now, and it's a lot easier.
It's a lot
to pull
easier
them,
to do that, right.
But,
and
Yeah,
then-
it should be up to them.
yeah.
Yeah,
and then that holds more and it's
Right.
less trips and then I
Exactly.
think one person could.
yeah, so either as you take those out, you can weigh them and put them in the roll off. So that same person could still, they're just working a half hour longer.
Yeah.
But I think it works that way too. Did you have a lot of liquid problems in the recycle at summer concert?
Yes,
Yes.
Um,
The only thing we do is put the ends, so the liquid drains out.
oh,
That's another thing.
So the other thing I like about giving gift cards is that you're generally getting people from our community. Then you're giving gift cards to people in our community. Then they're spending those gift cards in our community. So you're really putting those dollars back into this area. I mean, yes, some of them are gonna go elsewhere, but the majority of them are people here.
Yeah.
So there's a whole circular piece that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
yeah.
I do like the education piece, and you do get repeat. I know some of the people that do Louisville Street Fair working for scraps, they're the same people, as long as they have availability, but they might go on family vacation, so they can't work that event. But they get dedicated volunteers and they get to know what they're doing. And it really helps you.
Yeah, at
Awesome.
22 when we ran it, we had a great, and we did only 4th of July and Chili Fest, but over half of the volunteers were repeats between the 2, and they loved it and they were super excited to help out. So I think if we relaunch it and start advertising it, we'll get some really great traction.
So are you building up an email list right now, so you can just blast these people before the event?
I've got the ones that participated in 22 and then the ones from
Great.
last year, so it'd be easy to reconnect. And then we would just add it to the general volunteer sign up page as well, and make it available to anyone.
Which is always good for new people coming in town too, or people move from Boulder, people move from Lafayette. Like I did it for that town, what can I do for Superior?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to have it up and visible early,
Yeah.
would be really great.
You've probably seen the motions, we gotta move to our next topic.
Yeah.
I don't wanna cut you off, is there anything we did not answer or things you want to bounce off of us before we,
So those were the big things, and, I think we don't have to tackle it today, but just kind of where the money went this year. So we kind of had allotted, 4,500, 5,700 for each of the events. We ended up only spending 12,000, so I used a little of the extra to actually buy our own zero waste stations.
Oh, cool.
Cause EcoCycle
Yeah.
dropped the ball on us on 4th of July, they didn't have enough. So this gives us a little more flexibility, and they come with their own sign stands.
So that, we got the clear streams that you have pictured there?
Yep, we have these, so that might be another ask I would have of you guys, is just to maybe help me in designing those signage
Yes,
and
Well, I
what
would love to have
Yeah.
you design that sign.
we should on those.
I was gonna say, is that something we could partner with like the arts committee or something like that to do around here? For the backgrounds of these, but then also what I was thinking was the liquid buckets.
Yeah.
Or the whatever containers we do that, if you create some sort of humorous art on those that draws people attention to your liquids go here, use your imaginations in a nice clean fashion. But if you were to create something a lot of, like, it needs to draw attention, because if you put like a Home Depot bucket down there with a little sign, you'll get trash in there.
Yeah.
So, but if
You know
you.
what else, sorry not to cut you off.
No, please.
You know what else would be good is to look at, I don't know exactly what the CU Stadium does, but I know that they have done a really fantastic job at waste diversion there and looking at literally their signage for those bins and for the liquid dumping could be a great.
They come from
Our
EcoCycle.
students do the-
Oh, do they? Okay.
So
Yeah.
the ROTC students do the stadium cleanups.
Yeah.
So like we can definitely be informed by them. That was a new thing this year in terms of the separating. That was at first perceived as we're never gonna get this done, and it didn't slow them down at all. So they have.
That's good.
System for it.
Yeah. Have you toured that system and seen it?
Yeah, I go with them.
Okay, cool.
It's
So you know.
6 in the morning after games.
That's
And
like-
just go, you're doing great.
I wanna go with you one day.
Good job, guys.
I'll go with you. That's-
I bring donuts.
So just real quick, for this year's event, I'm not planning on reusables for Arbor Day. I'm taking a little bit of a different approach for Arbor Day, making it more volunteer project based, more educational. So I don't imagine that we'll have a real significant amount of waste, and it's also not as contained of a space. So I think ideally I would love to focus that budget on 4th of July. It had been brought up if we want to consider compost stations for 4th of July.
I think that's easy, based on what we did for Chili Fest. The 5-gallon buckets work well. And with the signage, we'll just put that, because,
Well, and I did get 5 of the compostable.
so I think we would just, we could use those, but given, pancake breakfast, they eat a lot of the food. So there's not much left.
Yeah,
So we could do those 5 if you want. I think that's a great idea, get them used to our signs. So
okay,
if we have them, I would say use our signs.
okay,
And I think we talked about this one, number one for the amount of food waste. I think it's the most food waste of any of our events, but also it's a nice education opportunity as we're looking at this compost behavior change. I think the timing will work really well to consider having, an educational piece to that as well.
But to that point, the compost behavior change and the education tying it to climate change is what's missing in our general public. They don't understand by diverting the food waste away from the landfill, which generates methane, which is 84 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And that is a climate problem. So by taking only what you're gonna eat and eat what you get, you have very few waste. People are not linking that. So every opportunity we get to educate our public on that food waste organics collection is a climate solution. And if thousands of people participate and do a little part, we can make an impact on climate change.
One thing to be careful of here is just making sure that whatever compostable ware that we provide, cups, plates, whatever, we can actually compost it. Because if you have compost bins out that are food only, all the compostable cutlery will go in there.
yeah.
On scraps, if we do partner with scraps, they take it
Yeah.
somewhere else.
That's,
but
that's
they're
just
not-
making sure.
Yeah, it's a little confusing
Yeah.
for sure.
Because if not, Michelle, you would know is the preferred method to use compostable cups if
Yeah.
you can't compost them.
No, the preferred method is to use reusables.
Reusable.
Compostables are still a disposable
Right.
method that is using reusable, using natural resources. So the question, yeah.
I mean, yeah, because it's an expense.
have to-
Compostable ware is
Right,
more
it's
expensive.
more expensive and you're actually generating more methane because it will decompose.
So that's what I'm wondering if we want to, where we see compostable cups and we can't work with scraps for like Arbor Day, do we move to like the ball aluminum recyclable cups? Which are probably slightly cheaper and
And what did people,
More
remind me of
recyclable.
Arbor Day, what are we?
We had a huge inventory of compostable cups that I was
Like
using
everybody
as
should.
a backup for all of our events. I have gone through that all, so it is
Okay.
a clean slate.
Okay, they are more expensive and they can't be composted. So scraps takes their food waste to, a, not to A1.
Okay.
They go to, the Bennett landfill that Waste Connections owns. And they use it for alternative daily, they compost it there on site. They use it for alternative daily cover over the landfills. The landfills are required to spread something over the trash that they collected that day, so birds don't come, smells don't get out. Some landfills use glass, some landfills use paper mulch sprayed, some landfills like this one uses compost, and that's why scraps can get away with accepting compost, which shows they also have an agreement with A1 that they were trying to do small decomposition of organics, of compostables, but it's still a problem in our climate because our climate is so dry. That stuff doesn't decompose. Decomposes in the lab, but not in our arid climate. So I don't see this changing. And to Miles' point, we're better off not recommending compostable cups, even because they are a disposable, a one-time use thing. We really want reuse.
I wonder, just in the interest of time, we're a little bit over here, if Michaela, is this something that you could send out to ACES after the
Yep.
meeting?
Yeah.
Because we want to give Michaela any feedback early in the season here, right? We don't want to be coming right before Chili Fest or anything else. So now is a great time. I think we have probably a month or so. So it'd be fine to, respond to that email directly to Michaela as you have a chance to digest, because there's a lot of information.
Yeah.
And then there's,
And I would say if you're looking at reusable, I like the ball aluminum ones. I mean, I still have some for my course fence event. And
yeah,
people will actually use them.
yeah.
They're nice.
And one other thought was the spoons, that came up post Chili Fest. The public hates the compostable spoons because they melt in the hot chili. The edible spoons was kind of a hit.
Yeah.
The
edible spoons.
souvenir spoons we used last year, I think they fell flat. They didn't seem to get used. They also were super miniature when you buy things online. That's.
Yeah.
What about the tortilla scoops? And people are forced to eat the chili and the chip.
Not everybody can eat chips though.
Well, they're gluten free. They take care of something.
Yeah, so just another thing I'll highlight.
Trying to think which, well, like I like it when Costco does like the pretzels in the sample and stuff. Goes, then you don't throw it away.
Right.
I know.
Then they're forced to eat the chip.
Yeah.
I would do it.
Chips and chili, chips and chili.
I like them.
All right.
We'll give you feedback.
Move us along, yeah.
Yeah, I know,
Thank you so much.
It's okay, as again, we're passionate about this stuff.
Yep.
I got. Spend the rest of the meeting or something, so. All right, well, thank you, Michaela, appreciate your time coming on evening after work, totally appreciate that. I guess we'll see you tomorrow, and some of us will see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
Volunteer.
please do come.
The volunteer party tomorrow. So, okay, next is the ACES communication plan, and I assume the outreach working group is going over that. Is that right, Alexis?
I think so. I'm looking at Nikki on my screen here.
Yeah.
Michelle, I don't know if you guys want to talk about it this time or
The what?
the communications plan. Are you ready to talk about that?
I think I don't think we're really ready, but what we have an action item that we need to come up with the messages of all the events. So kind of now knowing these events, that really helps give us a template of what we need to message.
Did she give us a list of events?
No, but we kind of have it.
I emailed it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I wonder,
Spreadsheet she sent.
maybe
Yeah.
next time we talk about the messages, and also
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about ACES and what the priorities are. And maybe, I believe Jim talked about maybe assigning an ACES member to be the lead for various ones, just because I know schedules get busy. There's a lot of events.
Yeah.
This is already a big time commitment. And so I think maybe we can make that a topic for next time to talk about messages for each event and kind of prioritizing.
And our outreach and education can work on that in our January meeting.
That'd be great.
To brainstorm what those messages would be for those, that calendar that you sent out, or those events you sent out.
And I can send that out again next time too.
Look at that, we got 20 minutes back.
I was just gonna say, we just picked up 20.
There we go.
Call Michaela back. We got-
Now we're.
All right, town energy smart creates. That's some things that were attached.
Yeah. Yeah, so very exciting. We have $20,000 this year
Yeah.
for Energy Smart rebates. We are gonna be able to launch those for electrification items, and they will stack on the existing Boulder County rebates. They will stack on state and federal rebates. And the goal, of course, is to get people, when they're, waffling between, do I do an induction stove or a gas stove? To, really incentivize those pieces. Heat pumps, there's of course still a bit of a delta between those, but you hope that by incentivizing that, by incentivizing, at home EV charging, you just make these things a little bit easier, a little bit more palatable, and reach out to people. So, we have $20,000. I sent you kind of what Louisville has done, what Boulder has done. I'm happy to pull those up, if that's helpful. And then, I don't know, Miles,
Yeah.
you now as Energy Smart, I'm gonna look to you to also build on that.
No, so we haven't produced the final reports for last year yet, but Louisville literally ran out of money, I think, early December. So they spent their entire Energy Smart budget to get homes electrified. So the report that's gonna go to them will include all the money that was spent, how it was spent, what the projects were that got installed. They'll be able to start to see greenhouse gas reduction by implementation measures. So where did that, I forget, they did 20 or 30,000, but I think they had 30,000 next year. But basically where that money is actually going in terms of greenhouse gas reduction. So that's the kind of data I think that'd be really wonderful for us to be able to collect next year as well.
And so I actually just right before the meeting got this from Hannah, the sustainability person in Louisville,
Yeah.
just to get a sense of where their rebates went, because they had $20,000 this last year, so it's very analogous to our budget. City of Boulder, of course, has a lot more than that, so it's not as similar. And then this does not include low income qualified rebates, so that is a separate pool of funds.
It is, and income qualified in Boulder County doesn't mean income qualified the same way as everywhere else.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised, many people in this room are probably income qualified. And so those rebates are much more than what you would get by even combining the county and the city together. So people go that route won't be touching the towns.
So ours won't be qualified then?
That's available to everybody.
Correct.
So basically, just to give you an example, like household of four income is, I think, 140, if you made less than $146,000 as a household of four, you qualify for the income qualified rebates, which is up to $4,000. And in 2025, it's going to be up to 70% of project costs.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
I like
and,
that change.
right, so then if you look at, well, and then if you look at the state, so the city rebate amounts, if we're mimicking what Louisville was, if you want to pull that back up.
Yep.
Heat pumps, you're still so far off of, I mean, the cold climate air source heat
Yeah.
pump, the rebate amount from the town of Superior would be $400, and from the county would be
Yeah.
$400 also.
How much do
300.
those cost?
Depends, 14,000 to 30,000, I think.
Yeah.
So that's where, like, if you're income qualified, it makes that project more palatable. But the Excel rebates are also $2,250 a ton. So most home units are 3 to 4 tons-ish. Is that about a fair assessment?
That's about right.
So you're looking at $6,000 to $8,000 back from Excel, stackable with 4,000 from Boulder County income qualified, stackable with, other things, of the federal rebates and the state
A
rebates.
lot of the income qualified people use those rebates, or?
We've had a lot of them lately. Yeah, a lot
So-
more. It's a big push.
I'm just worried if you're, just meeting your expenses, would you go out and buy a heat pump?
Well, so a lot of people need to get a new system.
Oh,
So
they
the furnace
need one.
breaks, or it's good, they're planning for it the next year because it's 15 years old. And so there's a good incentive to replace with electric, whereas previously there was income in disparity. So you wouldn't be able to actually replace a gas system with an electric system.
Okay.
There's also a lot of people who qualify for income qualified rebates who are retired, who don't have income, who are taking advantage of it. So, yeah, there's also a lot of other programs that are incentivizing, as John knows, it is a crazy roadmap. And as Paul will attest to, it is quite the journey to try to figure out your home electrification. But having a local incentive to stack on Boulder County is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is a very cool thing.
And it's a way for us to continue to promote this idea of electrification. It's a way to get people in the door in it. We're gonna do our expo again this year. We're looking to move it to May. So it's not 105 degrees outside. But the idea is to promote home energy squad visits for people who are just starting, because you can do an audit of your home for free. We pay for that, like, more advanced audit through Excel. We'll have the rebates if you're ready to take action, and then we'll have the expo if you're like, I kind of want to take action. Who do I talk to? What does an EV look like for me? What does this even all mean? And we have, all the great documents that we made last year. We have, kind of our list of contacts. And
And
so.
HR's got a great contractor pool, and so does Excel, and so does some of the surrounding folks here, and the contractors are getting better at this. And they're, yeah, I mean, many of them have come around, and there's some that just only do this too. I mean, it's not like you have to go to the HVAC person you used 15 years ago to get your heat pump installed. So.
When you anticipate it'll be live, the rebate program?
Well, I wanted to bring it, so I've been working on the IGA with Boulder County. They need to know if we wanna just do kind of the standard, what other people have done, or if ACES had any feedback, so I wanted to bring this to you all first. To see if there was anything that you felt strongly should be different. I think, like Miles said, at least for Louisville, is paced pretty appropriately with these levels to kind of last all year. You don't wanna run out of rebates in March, right? Cause that's frustrating for people. And then, ideally, there's gonna be more coming out this year. We're still kind of waiting to see how that all helps trickle out. And so we'll be promoting that in conjunction with all these other opportunities for residents. So my thought was, because it's worked pretty well at the same level of rebates for Louisville, and there's nothing we wouldn't rebate in there, that we would kind of do the same thing, but I wanted to bring it for discussion in case there's things that I haven't thought of or might be missing.
Yeah.
I think since it worked for Louisville, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
We could spend all day on this.
And you talked to Hannah, right?
Yeah, and they had good success. She just gave me this literally an hour before our meeting.
Okay.
But you can, kind of see overall what that kind of went towards,
Do
in
we
terms
know
of
who
advising.
helped come up with all these numbers?
It would be the industry smart program.
Yeah.
They actually hired consultants.
Rachel knows? She pulls all this out of Salesforce. We have all these reports in-house.
The rebate amounts, the actual, no, not this, because I'm talking about the rebates.
Oh, you're talking about these?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
We were talking apples.
Yeah.
Yeah, those numbers right there.
Mhm.
Like, where did those come from? Like, again, knowing that what I do know, working in the industry, like the ground source heat pump rebate of $400 is nothing.
Right.
And compared to a cold climate heat pump rebate, which is almost the same thing, and we know one is significantly cheaper than the other.
Mhm.
So it's, the point of getting at, some of these numbers don't scale with the actual cost of the project.
Correct.
Sure.
Induction cooktop stove, we know those cost about $2,000, $2,500.
Mhm.
I think I could go through this all day, but so that's why I'm wondering, like, instead of just, we're continuing just repeating and using the numbers, I'd like to go back to who produced the numbers. What was their justification? Did they factor in all the other rebates from the other entities being offered? And I just want to make sure I think they're credible, they came from Boulder County Energy Smart, but just ask the question.
Yeah, I believe it was Energy Smart, and then that's all related to the Oscar team, which is their sustainability team. I think for heat pumps, it's hard to bridge that gap because you're talking about such a large dollar amount when you're talking about a pool of rebates. If you incentivize it, $2,000 a piece, you're gonna run through those pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so I think it was kind of scaled to be a little bit larger on those to help a little bit, but then still incentivize these other pieces where it might really make a big difference. And I think they were kind of looking at communities that have smaller pools of money here. How do you split that
Okay.
further across more?
I'm fine with that answer. I was just asking the question.
So for the heat pumps, what I've seen more of, and people getting the standard heat pump rebates, it's an add-on, it's a nice to have, right? It's not gonna be the cause of getting a heat pump because you can get a Boulder County rebate.
Yeah.
With the induction ranges, it's leaning a little more in that range, heat pump dryer, those numbers start to like make a little more sense. And there's so many other rebates available for heat pumps that like the Boulder County ones are nice to have, like I said. I think that when you get to them income qualified, it takes a big 10 out of it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's also to make sure there's enough funding for everybody, because not everybody can access getting a new heat pump.
Yeah, that's my concern in terms of, we talk about equitable and reaching groups that they don't even know that this exists. Like, do we have a targeted initiative to go to people that could best use these? Just to do one-on-ones or just to give them information, because I don't even know what this is.
I mean, I guess the question is, how would you do that? Because we
I
don't
don't
have a list of
I know.
income qualified and.
This itself would be a really great sheet to be able to hand out at events, actually, that's, I'm
Yeah.
going down the same train of thought, but maybe a less fruitful one, because I'm thinking about renters
Yeah.
again, and I'm thinking how, well, I could get my landlord to think about some of this only because
I don't think some of these are eligible for landlords.
These are all for 4 units or less.
And
So you can't do large multifamily housing.
Okay.
But it has to be your primary residence.
No, it doesn't. Landlords can get it for rented properties.
Right.
Yeah, as long as it's less than 4 units or less.
Yeah, I think that's a part that we, yeah.
There's
So
a weird thing though that's happened with the fire and a lot of our entry level housing, Bill Sagamore. And there's housing throughout, town where where they're allowed to be renting, but that was the primary, like that was the entry, that was the smaller housing. And those were, in terms of like income and affordability, like that was it. And now it is not that. And so it's
where is
tricky, I think, to figure out outside of renting, but then everything else is new.
Right.
And so you wouldn't,
Need a lot.
I mean, you could need some upgrades, but the fire really told us. In terms of what we would have known as like areas to target and focus on like who needs this. And now I'm like, I don't know what those areas are. Because the Rock Creek,
It's older.
like open space area was also the entry level area, like I live over there, and those were like the 2,500 square foot houses.
Yeah.
So but I think it's tougher, I think, to target who it is, so like handing them out at events and just like.
Everybody, just shooting for everybody.
You really don't know, I mean, someone
You don't
can have
know.
a 5,000 square foot
Right.
house and be qualifying for, like, you
Yeah.
don't know, we don't know what their financial.
I think this.
I've seen some interesting ones.
Yeah, I think the senior citizen group is one group that we could definitely,
We have a
Yeah.
lot of seniors
Yeah,
that apply for
that would
qualified
be-
rebates.
Yeah.
So what was the pool of money for Louisville and that they lasted till December?
This was $20,000, and again, that doesn't, Boulder County covers the low income ones, so that pool is
Okay.
not, that's a separate pool, so 20,000 just for the
So
regular
and then
non,
How much are we looking to,
20,000.
so we
Yeah.
could-
So it's exactly the
that's
same.
what we have.
smaller town, same amount of money. we should-
Exactly.
So do you need a motion or a vote for this,
Yeah.
or you're just more?
It was more just to bring it to you all for discussion.
Again,
Let's do it. Let's do it.
It would go back. I mean, we'll have checkpoints throughout the year. If we get to the middle of the year, we could bump them up if
Okay,
like no
that's-
one is
Sometimes
using
you can
it.
call this rebates to get the money going, utilities will do that.
Yeah, so we'll kind of evaluate as we go, but that's why I'm trying to have this conversation in January so we can like hit the ground running. See
Yeah.
how it goes, start promoting this and
I
then.
wish we had an energy office, like.
We have a time check, we gotta
Okay.
move on to the next topic, so sorry, that one needs to
Well,
go.
it's gonna lead into the next topic too.
Yeah, next on the list is the go electric, so
Yeah,
you're,
so-
you're. up next.
Well, yeah.
Before we give the mic to you, it sounds like we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Very positive, happy discussion about this, is there anything
Okay.
else you need from us, or?
No, I mean, I think we'll continue to talk throughout the year about how we promote these as we go, and folding into
Yeah.
event conversation. I think that event, communications discussion is related to this, but I just kind of wanted to have a gut check on how we felt about this, send you all this material so you could look it over.
Would you be putting it on the town website then?
Yeah.
Along with the toilet water rebates and the low flow?
Probably be in its own section.
It'll probably be separate because that's like a lot section, but we have.
Along the same line.
Yep, and we have all the 1, 2, 3 electrify stuff, so it'll build on that campaign. The goal was to start with an information campaign and then launch into this year where we can really get people hooked in again by saying, hey, we have money to do these things.
Cool.
Do we have any kind of like home event or like, here's all the things for your homeowner and security that are available, like.
Maybe we create a flyer.
So we had a meeting with developers to talk about giving them a flyer for like their new home packet. They're not necessarily like willing to go all electric or all these other things without codes, but they are willing to help us at least promote at the end as part of kind of that. That's the best we've done so far, but
I can maybe do something in the community center that is not.
yeah.
But you can, I just,
That's a great idea.
This,
Great idea.
Yeah. On realtors, I can.
I know,
You know,
like,
like-
I'm like, oh,
The real debt, right?
Yeah.
So. Well, I think we'll probably have another discussion on promotion, like definitely interested in ideas like that outside of the box of how do we get this in front of the right people and potentially someone moving in new would say, oh, you know, I really wanna switch this gas stove for an induction stove or whatever that looks like, or I need a new furnace, or I know I'm gonna need one in the next year, like it might be a great
Yeah.
point for that, so.
Exactly. Okay.
All right, well, thank you all.
All right, go electric.
Yeah, oh,
What do you got to say?
welcome. Yeah.
I'm gonna let Miles kick it off.
Yeah, Miles, yeah.
So Paul from Go Electric Colorado, as you mentioned, they're a community-based nonprofit volunteer organization, right? That are just incredibly knowledgeable, and help homeowners and residents create their pathway. So John, when you're talking about being like all the confusion about all the different systems out there and all the different approaches and what to do first, and I did an audit, but that didn't really give me what I wanted to go. Then you go to Gecko. And Gecko, after you get your audit and you go to Gecko and you talk through your systems, they can help plan out your most efficient route and really give you good advice on who to go to. But I want to let Paul really come talk about what you guys do.
You just.
Did I just, okay, you can go. No, but the whole, the whole,
Good minutes.
What
What was your
Oh,
level?
Bousquet, Bous,
I was gonna butcher it.
Quet.
But so Gecko is really trying to expand their reach as well.
The.
Go Electric Colorado, so Gecko.
And we're goelectriccolorado.org if you
Mhm.
want to
Okay.
book a
Mhm.
consulting session with us.
I have had one and it was fantastic.
Okay.
I think I talked to Ed when he was down traveling in Phoenix for it's election related. I'm already hurting from it. But anyway, you know, I talked about what I've done and the way I'll just explain to you guys what I told them about the audits I've had, what I want to do, the challenges that I'm facing, the cost barriers, the wiring barriers, the panel upgrades, and just like, I have an AV, how do I get a chart? Like all these different things. And he was helping me kind of navigate through different options that are out there and talking about not just kind of the existing methodology, but new technology. We talked about different types of electric panels. I never thought I'd talk about electric panels in my life. But here I am, as an entertainer sometimes. But anyway, they're just a really great resource that's free to residents to try to electrify their homes. And my thought in bringing you in here to talk with this group was, I think you guys would be a great resource for homeowners as we release, you know, rebates to the wild here for people to take advantage of, rather than have people rush in and say, I want this or I want that. Give them a pathway that makes the most sense to plan where they want to go and really meeting them where they are. Because I think a lot of times when you get a home energy audit, it's you gotta pack it and then you don't really know what to do with it. And the other thing is John had launched this Electrify Boulder County Facebook group where he wants to talk about his electrification journey and what's to be done. We need experts to join in that community so that when we have residents with questions, we don't get the social media untruths that just get blasted in there. Yeah. Things don't need to be fact checked.
Or the vendors that hop in there.
The vendors, everything else.
Lively
I would
saying
rather
this.
have somebody from Gecko who can respond to questions. So as questions come in, as John's managing the site, he can tag you in it where you can go in and help people answer a question that they have. So those are some of the ideas, but I wanted to get you in front of people here to, just talk a little bit more about why you do what you do and how you do it.
Great. Well, so Miles, you really queued up very well. We formed about 2 years ago and it was really a handful of engineering type people who were doing it to their own homes, guinea pigging their own homes, subjecting their loved ones to electrification, and swearing it's going to be better. And here we are. We're here. We're still alive. But there are a lot of barriers, and there's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of challenges because we tend to trust, and I'll put trust in quotation marks, contractors who come in and tell us those heat pumps, they don't work in our climate. They're wonderful for Alabama, but you need, I can give you a heat pump and an 80% furnace, and you're gonna be all set dual fuel. And we just have to like breathe, don't react, and just say, okay, that's not my lived experience. I have a heat pump and it is, I don't know how many degrees right now, and my family is like, we've never been warmer in our lives, and our house is quieter, right? So there's a couple benefits, if it's sized right, your ducts are sized, but there's a lot of those details. And could your panel handle it and all that? So we have this collectivization. We were on with XL Energy yesterday and with their whole home program and Julie Herman. And I said, not to get too esoteric, but like Young talks about the collective unconscious, we're the collective conscious of electrification. We have a pancakes every Thursday at somebody's house, and we're constantly talking about and sort of nexusing information, sharing it on our Slack channel, so that when issues come up, if we don't have the answers, we go to somebody else who does, who's got a little deeper on span panels or whatever the topic is. And I might throw a word out there, like, what's a span panel? But
It's fun.
Part of what I was interested in was seeing, I worked for the city of Boulder for almost 15 years, and I know that cities don't always play wonderfully together, but I'm curious if Louisville, Lafayette, and Superior would consider doing some kind of pilot work with Go Electric around how do we go from, and this is where I talk about this, community-based social marketing. It's one thing to educate people and incentivize and put all these things in front of them. But how do you get them to act? To go from, we probably should put in a heat pump water heater someday. And yeah, it shouldn't be the day after you just bought a gas one, but you might go check the plate and find out how old is that that furnace or water heater or whatever, and when is it time, and how do I cue that up? And do I feel like I'm equipped with the knowledge to make an informed decision? Because, frankly, less than a year ago, I went for a little run. I saw my local plumber replacing a gas water heater. I said, oh, what'd you put in? Because there's the old one sitting out behind his truck. And he goes, oh, another gas water heater. And I was like, did you ask him if they wanted a heat pump water heater? And the guy cocked his head. And I was like, are you gonna judge me for even having that? But he goes, what is that? I don't even know what that is. And this is a branded truck sitting on the side of the road. You've seen the trucks. And I'm like, and then his partner's coming out of the house, because you generally don't empty water heater and alone. And he goes, hey, have you ever heard of a heat pump water heater? Neither one of them. So this is what our residents are seeing. So how do we get from that guy coming in going, yep, are you putting another water heater in? It's gonna be gas. To how do we get a trusted, non-economically motivated set of eyes and ears on bids and projects and on ideas, and move from a thought like, yeah, we should maybe, I've heard about this, and to we're gonna put this in. And we're gonna start queuing up a plan. So I'd love to talk to everyone in that 3-city consortium. And I don't know where this is at, but I'm gonna pitch something that may be not feasible, because I don't know who's in Colorado is gonna go for this money. But are you guys aware of the municipal investment fund money that's available like in the less than 20 days? Well, I'll say 30 days through the CGC in Italy?
Oh.
Because I'm thinking
I think we were too small to qualify for that.
But if
No, no.
you would participate with Superior, Lafayette, and Louisville,
The regional electrification.
Yeah, because I think Bickley sent it to us initially, and if it's what I'm thinking of, we were too small. we've got-
Superior alone should send it.
Yeah, so I don't know.
But I think it's 10,000 to 750,000.
I'm gonna look at the
And
rest.
you would use that
I
to
can't
educate
remember, 'cause he sent it to
contractors
me
or
once.
So, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
explain
we
what
can-
little I know about the municipal investment fund. Right now, they're looking for they're going to select two proposals for each state, 104. And the reason it's 104 because they're gonna do 4 tribals. And they're going to give those entities who are selected a $250,000 planning grant. Free and clear, plan what you're gonna do with the money. Some of that money has to touch LIDAP communities. Alexis, I just emailed you a map, a link to a map from CDPHE,
Yeah,
which
Yeah,
is,
virus.
which is the EnviroScan map
yeah.
to help kind of go, yep, because I wanted to look at, we have, yep, qualifying. Low income disadvantaged community.
Oh, I see.
So some of the money has to, some of your
Yeah, we
planning
have to partner.
proposal has to address how you're gonna get into equity homes with your funding and with your proposal. Right. And it could be, and this money is so broad, it can be, we wanna put a solar array somewhere that's gonna serve those communities with a, solar collective. It could be putting a heat pump water heater in 110 homes, but anyway, it's planning money. And then if you then take that planning money, come back to them, and this is on a really quick cycle, unfortunately. By June, they're going to award 10 communities up to $2 million each to enact their plans. But the 250,000 gets you planning, gets you a roadmap to where you might want to go, or some projects you might want to pursue. So I mentioned that because I think coordinating with multiple cities might be the ticket, because you don't qualify individually, or collectively you might. And they also want to see it multiplied, and with what's going on with Excel, and they want to see it multiplied by private investment, which Excel qualifies. So I just thought of it as it might be something we could chat about, and I'm sitting here looking at Nikki going, you're a finance person, maybe you would like to take a look at the RFP, and I'm happy to forward it to you and see. It's not a heavy lift for this 250,000, but it might be kind of competitive. I don't know.
It's 20 days.
February 5th.
February 5th.
Well, I think we would have to partner because of the LIDAC requirements, so that's
Right.
probably the trickiest part, is getting multiple entities to agree on what we're doing and that we have capacity for it, but.
And that's exactly why they want this they want people to collaborate.
Sure.
So anyway, it's just,
What might be a way to address the apartments? I mean, those are
Essentially.
tend to be people without enough money to buy a house, right? They rent.
But it's by census tract and we don't have any.
Well, Flatiron requires 2.5 times your rent for income, so most of those people would.
Okay.
They're gonna change it.
We'll look at it though, and Miles sent it out again.
It's a lot.
And I think, at a minimum, we'll wanna keep talking with
Rentals.
Go Electric about our expo and the
Yeah.
other ways, and then.
Yeah.
I also wanted to plug how helpful Go Electric has been with Marshall Fire rebuilds. Over the last, Paul mentioned that they formed about 2 years ago, and I feel like you've been in countless rebuilds at this point, especially for people who are saying, we got a heat pump, it's not working right, like people who really wanted to do electrification, and then contractors may or may not have had that familiarity to do it properly. Go Electric has been so amazing at going in and helping people and assessing what the problem is, whether it's cleaning out, ducts that were put in, all sorts of things that I think homeowners would have had a real challenge addressing on their own, and then people saying, "Oh, heat pumps are not for me," but instead Go Electric was able to come in, give them that one-on-one support and then kind of turn it around for people. So that's been
Will you
amazing.
consider having them at the expo?
They were there last
They were
year.
there
Do you
last year?
hope they'll be
Yeah.
there again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they're there.
Yeah.
Have you talked to anybody in Louisville or Lafayette about this yet? About the
Uh,
fund?
no, just my first entree to this, but, yeah,
Does Lafayette have more?
there's other.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a whole another components of this funding.
Long list, wait, not the FLP, but
They have
they're
a lot.
different areas.
Grow, hanging fruit, planning, but
They're so big. They don't.
They are
really
big.
go anywhere else.
How many people are volunteering with this nonprofit?
we're getting into the 40 to 50 range right now and spanning from South Denver to, really Fort Collins area.
Mhm.
So we're covering quite a bit of the front range. And our,
Bless you.
to put it out there, we are looking for opportunities to grow and scale because of all the investment that's coming through the Clean Heat Plan, Dr. CEO, Rewiring America. It's gonna be, as Zach has said, we're hoping this money's transformative. And that it transforms both the contractor sector as well as the homeowners, becoming more like, not like heat pump, deer in the headlights, or those don't work, but more like, oh, heat pump. Yeah, my neighbor's got one. He loves it, or they love it, families, they haven't frozen to death.
Jim, you're
That's
good, right?
crazy stuff, but
Yeah,
it's what's out there.
I can relate to what you said in the beginning,
Yeah,
the family on board.
yeah,
Do they work in the mountains?
yeah,
Yeah,
they do.
we've got one of our volunteers who, is very technical. Doing work in Frisco, in Breckenridge, in Suffolk County. I just saw a Mitsubishi, and not to name drop a brand, but we were complaining about a 4-ton Mitsubishi heat pump that's coming out, that's gonna run it 100% at 5 degrees and 70% at -13.
Wow.
But we were complaining because it requires an 80 amp. Okay.
Okay.
Wow, and we're like, for a 4-ton, and we're like, oh, what, okay? Now, how much electricity, we don't know, because it's
But
gonna
it requires that.
but they're requiring an 80 amp, which is not.
Electric resistance is in there, it's gotta be,
So they-
electric resistance has to be in there for that amp
You
drop.
do wonder, like, it's gonna
It has built-in backup.
it's gonna draw some.
It's got integrated backup.
Integrated backup.
Wow.
Well, Paul, we just have a couple minutes left,
Yeah.
but, this has been a fantastic introduction. I guess, where do we go here? We talked to you and you talked about collaborating with the other cities, like what will be a logical next step to keep this conversation going?
I guess there's 2 ways. I mean, we continue to do free consulting with anybody, and 90% of that now is online. We often have people run around with their phones and like, go take a picture of your panel for me, where's my panel? What, and go here, where's your meter, where's the electricity coming in from above or below, and so we're able to do 90% virtual now, but we'll also go to people's homes. We do a lot of follow-up. What we love to see is some sort of a 3-city pilot project to go, if you really want to see if you can move the needle on greenhouse gas reduction, let's talk about coming in and working one-on-one with neighborhoods or communities or individuals where we give them even more TLC. Kind of take it up a notch or 2, and see if we can't get more conversion of, from gas to electric.
Now, do you have like a contractor network or partners that people say, yeah, I'm ready for a heat pump, and give me a list of people to work with? Or you just direct them back to like the Boulder County lists and Excel and that sort of thing?
We tend to steer away from, but if we get pushed against the wall, we'll name 5 or 6 contractors and
That's
say,
good.
"Yeah, but it's from these folks, you
Mhm.
know? We've had good luck. I mean, we're not gonna,
No, I think that's good, because personally knowing the market, those lists are massive. They've got big, so then you get another uneducated person, like, what 20 do I call here, you know? It's like having the short list is nice.
right, you just started A,
Yeah,
because everybody's lists are alphabetical.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe good,
One thing that I like that the Energy Smart website does for their contractor list is they list the total number of projects completed with Energy Smart.
That's good.
And that's,
Right.
it doesn't necessarily mean they're the best if they've done the most, but at least they have the most experience putting in a heat pump or most experience putting in a heat pump water heater or something like that.
This
So
is
that's-
exactly what I was talking about, having, the visit, where when we talk about habits and what stops people from doing greenhouse gas reduction,
Mhm.
this is it, the information, you need that person that you know,
Yeah.
hi, how'd you do this?
Mhm.
And,
Don't
so I
get
think.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm navigating now.
Exactly, you're
Learning
going,
all this stuff, the
right,
technology and the rebates, and it's just.
it's over, yeah,
So John, meet Paul, Paul meet John.
yeah.
But I think
Between the two of you,
And-
good.
I think maybe by the next meeting, and maybe it's the outreach committee, or maybe it's outreach and resources together that we meet jointly to really put together a rollout plan
Yeah.
for all these rebates and push for home electrification. That
Yeah.
includes resources like Gecko, like this, and then we can put it out on socials and whatnot from ACES, and the town will put it on the website for what they can.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would say is like in that advising role, like
Yeah.
you would definitely be able to advise, I'm gonna need to make a whole rollout plan as well, so you
Sure.
wanna map those
Map
two
it
together. But, I think that Go Electric is a great piece of that. I'm gonna take a look at that fund and talk to my colleagues. And then certainly for those things we already have planned, like the expo, I will email the Go Electric team because we loved having you there before. We're gonna do it in May this time, so it's not 105.
I was inside, it didn't bother me.
Yeah, we were fine.
We were.
Yeah. So,
And I had a fan.
Yeah.
I had a fan and cold drinks.
which was perfect.
Well, that-
What an advocate for that. So, yeah, definitely to be continued on the conversation.
Yeah, I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Paul. We're gonna move on.
Yes.
Yeah, like I might reach out to you for some other things,
That's
so.
great. Let me.
I'll share Paul's email so that you see.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Sounds like we all have. reasons to talk to Paul. We'll just book out calendar next week.
Facilitate.
I see a TikTok campaign.
Yeah, we need to hire some people younger than Sarah.
Exactly.
Sarah to take this on. Don't you have any first years you can get into TikTok campaigns for us?
Yeah.
You need undergrads for that.
I'm an elder. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. So this is a topic I threw on the agenda, working groups. I think our heads have been down on working groups now for a couple of years. I think there's been, that communication plan is a great example of the benefit of a working group. So I think there's definitely some good things going on, but sometimes it's good when your head is down on something a while to take a step back and be like, okay, these 3 working groups, are they working? Do we like the names? Our operations group, I think, met a whopping twice last year, and the other half was like IT problems. So like operations group, like I'm ready to throw my hand in the air, but maybe we just need new people and it'll be fine. So I just wanted to just kind of have a quick brainstorm. We got about 15 minutes to just see if anybody wants to take a critical look at the operating group structure and working group structure and see if there's anything we want to change about.
What was the difference between operations and resources?
Okay, so there's outreach and education, resources and operations. And I still have to remind myself of the definition of all 3 every time I look about. That's been my challenge, actually, just keeping track of what group is doing what.
There's a lot of
You know, and then like the names aren't intuitive, and yeah, we got a puppy interested. Bring the puppy to the next meeting.
I thought like
Lots of pets and treats.
my one recommendation would be to have a 1-page template that we would fill out for
Yeah.
existing working groups. So we can refer back with the name, the goal, the objective and accomplishments and that, because we can always refer to, and I agree,
Yeah, that.
operations working group.
Yeah, and it's not that it couldn't work, it just hasn't worked.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He's recommending.
Well, I'm not, we don't need it, Well,
How can we be more
I'll shut
effective
up.
as a
What do
community?
you guys think of the working groups? I mean, is the model working? I mean, it is in some groups. I'll stop. What do you think, Miles?
It's half working.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to say. I mean, we missed meetings too, plenty, and it always does feel a little bit like a drag to have to like get here 30 minutes early, get out of work a couple weeks early, get over here to meet and stuff like that. And I totally understand that. And everybody's totally time constrained.
Yeah.
If they're not doing anything, I don't feel bad about getting rid of them, but there needs to be some kind of work between
Yeah.
sessions or we won't get anything done.
Yeah.
So I'm open to ideas of what that might look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can't be email communication, right?
Yeah.
It can't be, right? Nothing like that for sunshine law purposes. So it has to be something formal if we're going to do work between.
I mean, at your level, Alexis, do you see the benefits of the working groups?
Yeah. I mean, I think so, because I think, you know, we're always covering like this many topics. Like, I think we had one meeting last year, maybe two, that we didn't have a full agenda. We, you know, we're very good about ending on time, but there's plenty to do. And then, you know, if you want to create messaging for each event, if you want to like get more into specific topics, I do think there's value in it. I think that it's a great idea to consider looking at kind of what the role and purpose of the different ones are, maybe like operations, or maybe they get reconfigured a little bit. I think back to also Michelle wanting to talk about orienting a new ACES member. Like, if you're gonna explain to a new person what these groups are, it would be helpful to have a description and whatnot anyway, and that also might kind of illuminate the gaps. Maybe at the next meeting, if that work is able to take place in between, you all can think about who wants to be on which one. Does there need to be a third one? Do you kind of reconfigure what they are?
Yeah.
I don't know, that's kind of what I think about it.
Just a thought, I mean, as one who hasn't really touched the working groups much at all, I feel like it would be helpful. You're talking about like, how do you make this very like work oriented between meetings? What if you're like kind of loose with having the working groups and rather just define them as projects come up? Like literally have a project working group, so like, I don't know, for example, I'm thinking of the screen that Nikki, you guys worked on making that purchase. Like, what if you have a group that's just, this is going to be a functioning group until we purchase this screen, and then it's dissolved. So it's really very action oriented.
That leads us to too many meetings. And scheduling our time is one of our biggest challenges, which is why we moved resource working group to 30 minutes before this meeting, because you had this meeting on your calendar and we could be here 30 minutes before.
Yeah.
And so that's one of our biggest challenges of the working groups, is with all these work schedules, it's hard to get the
Time, and then letting Michaela know what it is, or we get
Because
the
we'll let
Zoom
the public
set,
know.
we have to announce it, so there's like this
Yeah.
administrative side of it too.
Yes.
Superior Zoom? 'Cause
Yes.
that feels like
It's more than two people.
Yes.
Unless you decide to meet somewhere public, but it has to be something that the public could join.
Gotcha.
Unless it's just two people.
Gotcha.
But
So-
anytime you're more than two.
Coming back to the stuff, because I think there is a way to build around that.
Yeah.
Is that at these meetings, we've got 5 major topics, right? And you talk about the operations group met once, twice last year,
Yeah.
if that,
That's
right?
generous.
Yeah.
Right. So did we have any operations topics that we talked about in any of these meetings
Well,
that needed more?
we were assigned the solid waste contract, and so Mike, Michelle and I locked in on that one, and then we brought some thoughts to ACES.
Right, so,
We all hashed it out again.
right, so you met based on a project that was needed within operations.
Exactly.
So we could probably do the same thing for other groups, but we need to carve out time in these meetings to talk about before next meeting, what are the projects that need to be met on? And it might be one project, it might be 2 projects, and then we divide and assign. It would take away time from these meetings, a little bit, but I think it might be more effective
But
at
that
getting
might be
people
more
to
effective.
commit.
Yeah, and then we have a monthly look at that we can then plan. Because we asked today on resource working group, what do we all want to focus on? And we kind of got those, knowing what your agenda is, and we chose things that were geared to yours agenda. Because it's January and it's easy to remember what the agenda is.
Right.
But I think if we did carve out time at the meeting, saying, all right, next month, I do like the resource working group and I do like the outreach and education. I think those two work on significant deliverables.
Can we change resources to something that's,
Yeah, what would you like?
I don't know what resources does, so why don't we start with that? You guys thought,
help write grants, help identify resources for residents to implement.
Financial resource.
Financial resources.
Yeah, just.
But it's also like bringing in Paul, like
Yeah.
things like that. So.
Yeah, no, okay,
So it is resources for people to take action in sustainability in
Yeah.
general. It does cross over, when you talk about like a Facebook group or something like that, it crosses over with outreach and education. Because a lot of times it's not just finding resources, but delivering them.
But Nikki and I are both on resources and it helps us
Right.
to be on outreach and education at least.
But just like Karen and Michaela said, we're like up to 35 events now. Should we be having, like, should outreach and education be like the events group or something like that? That is it more of a focused around organizing volunteers for the
So,
events and
based on-
sustainability things?
Yeah.
Like, should we, do we need a working group more towards that?
Michaela does the volunteer organization, used to be us long before we had Michaela doing
Well, I'm
that.
not saying we find the volunteers,
Right.
but I mean, that ACES is going to be represented there. We need to nail down the ACES people that are gonna be there, what their role is gonna be.
So that's kind of to what Miles was suggesting, if we take time up in this agenda, our monthly agenda, and focus on what the working groups will do that next month until the next working group. If there is a project that other people wanna join in on ACES, we can say, we're gonna meet at this time, which has to be a standard day and time every month, so we can put it on the Zoom for the public. But we can carve out what we're gonna accomplish at that meeting, at this meeting.
Like for the outreach.
Yes,
We're gonna work on messaging.
Yeah, this month, we're gonna
For
work on,
like events, whatever.
well, 35.
Or like a project could be taking Michaela's sheet and coming up with ideas to flip to Michaela, like that could be the project
And
going to the
when
next
he
meeting.
wanted.
Right.
She wanted more ideas, but we ran out of
Volunteer
time.
education, so maybe
Right.
the following month we work on
volunteer.
figuring out how to do a YouTube.
Yeah.
For the
But
volunteers.
I'm thinking, I mean, it's hard for people to meet. We all know that that's an issue.
That's right, the number one barrier.
And so I'm thinking, I mean, if we had a list of tasks that align with the goals we're trying to do, we just divide it, I take this task or that task. And then I meet with whoever I need on, throughout the year to accomplish that task. Then it's.
But that doesn't involve the public, so you have to do it, so
Why?
it has to be a steady. It has to be a team meeting.
If you're by yourself, not meeting with anybody else on ACES, you don't have to meet with the public.
Right, they don't have to meet.
Or one,
Yeah.
two people is not a meeting.
If I meet with you to plan the chili fest or something, that doesn't have.
Just one other person.
Yeah, one other person. So I'm just in charge of a task for an event or something. I own it and I would report in when we meet.
So that maybe is a question there. How much do the working groups do tasks versus additional decision making?
Well, you
Decision
can
making.
make a decision on
Yeah,
behalf of
we can't make a
ACES. Yeah, so you can move things forward, you can gather information and bring back, but
That's
no
what we do.
ACES decisions
Yeah.
are made in separately ACES meeting.
So then that format makes a lot of sense. Like if you can just divide and conquer as much as possible and minimize the need for the meetings. In the
But that
first
won't, you're gonna run into a decision that you have to make.
And then
Inevitably.
you minimize those and save those for when you do need a meeting. So actually using Miles's format, if you have the list of
Right.
tasks, you can say in advance, operations meeting is going to need to meet because we have this decision to
Right.
make.
That's
I
why
think, I like that
I like that
combination.
idea. Is that we carve out time in our.
So
meetings there.
how will we do that? Could we have just like a standing 15-minute open forum at the end of every meeting? That says, okay, what tasks do we want to work out?
Like who's
between now and the
planning?
next one?
Who's
I like
planning
having a
on
table of
what?
action items at the bottom.
And get two volunteers per topic.
Yeah, because like right now we have working group report outs, and that's not gonna work if we're all reporting out on the tasks that we're doing for the year, because
Yeah.
it'll take 45 minutes every
Right.
meeting.
Right.
So if we just had 15 minutes for, going around the table and saying, anybody need help with tasks or a meeting with anybody else, you can have that point in which you're kind of working on, but it's still fuzzy in my mind how that would work.
I still think we meet the resource working group at date, time, and we meet.
We can always hold time on the calendar. It's on the
Right.
calendar, right? We can hold it there, and like half the time this year, we were like, we can't meet, let's not meet, there's not a focus.
Yeah.
But if it's there, if we need it. So I think it's important to put something on the calendar for each of these kind of areas to use. I don't know if operations make sense anymore. It doesn't, I mean, if nothing really is getting done there, then maybe not. But like, for you talking about for outreach and education,
Yeah,
have
outreach and
something
education.
outstanding.
Yeah, we always have something.
And we can put
And
a stamp.
resource, we always have something. But I think if we do each meeting, we will then focus what that something is.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
as
Hybrid.
agenda items, as we talk about agenda items, we can assign. And I like Sarah's idea of having it at the bottom of the minutes.
Mhm.
Here's the assignments.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Email out.
you're gonna do this, resource, you're gonna do this, and then next meeting we say, did you do it?
Yeah.
So
We
who's,
were kind of talked about that this meeting, so I feel like that's actually a helpful way to collect those.
so once, is this, the idea is maybe then once the work plan is finalized,
Should driven
That-
by the work plan.
there has to be some sort of assignment
Yeah.
of work plan tasks or work plan ideas to individuals.
And
Less
that's how we started with the 3 working groups. The operations working group would get the things that would be focused on supporting Alexis as a staff.
But we can never meet, we never met.
We met twice, but there were times that we had nothing to do. We would meet, like, do we have anything to do? It wasn't until we got.
But there's certain times we couldn't even get the,
No, we couldn't get.
IT issues too.
We did it.
If we get the work plan, then we can say, okay, you wanna work on electrification or waste or something, and you sign up for a task that's in alignment with the goals, then.
And I think ACE's role within those tasks too, like all those are very broad, and so we'll just continue to kind of refine that conversation as
Yeah.
well.
Nikki, what about you? We haven't heard much from you.
I'm just trying to follow this whole thing. It's going pew, 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 pew. So I'm kind of like, gosh, this is going, I'm not sure if I've understood how we might even do this, but generally, my feeling is we're struggling to meet every month. So I think if we had a task orientated kind of outset, we could meet less. So maybe like once a quarter, or we could reduce those amounts of meetings if we actually know what each of us is going to achieve. I think it does need to be a lot more action orientated. Yeah, I feel like I don't really have anything else that's very intelligent to say. That's about it.
To your point, it's okay if we have an outreach in education and we're working on messaging at Arbor Day. And you're not going to Arbor Day and you don't want to participate in that working group meeting. That's okay. I think that we need an opportunity to say, I don't want to work on this. And I think that's an important piece to have.
Yeah.
Because when you sign up for ACES, you sign up for this meeting and you sign up to advise, but you don't necessarily know that you're signing up for all these working group meetings. And to your point, it's a lot of meetings.
And
So
I
if
do-
we focus on activities, I think that would help. But for public communication reasons and posting of the meetings, we need to, I think, keep those monthly meetings. Right now, nobody has shown up from the public in any of our working group meetings in 2024. I know I've gotten online and made sure. So we've said, but we want to make sure we stay above and don't do anything wrong in that arena. And that's how we're going to recruit. Remember, we have an opening to fill Mike Foster's spot. So we do need to recruit. And ways we recruit is we get people interested in the work that we're doing. So I think if we start breaking it down by activity and getting it assigned here for next month, we will be more productive. You can say, no, I don't want to come to that meeting because I'm not interested in helping with that. Or you have a one topic that takes one person or 2 people to do, then that's fine. And that's how we move the needle after we get our 2025 work plan approved by the town board.
Yeah,
So,
I do think we should reduce the overlap between the working groups as well. I think because we're jumping back and forth on certain topics. Is this outreach? Is this resource? It's both. It's confusing. So we need to kind of avoid that as we go forward and make clear separation.
So by action items, I think we can.
Yeah.
So I know we got one more topic here, we got elections, but to kind of put a pin in this one, should we just start by next month, but throw a 15-minute window on the next agenda and come up with tasks and.
Well, right now we can give,
And then individuals will just volunteer and.
yeah,
I mean, I kind of love it doesn't need to be working group specific, but like the 30-minute window before the ACES meeting, maybe kind of make that the open forum discussion for, hey, I went back, or John's like, hey, I went and thought about this, here's my ideas, bounce off, people come up with a nucleus of thought and bring that to the meeting. I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing out an idea.
No, I like it too.
I like that too.
Because people can plan on the 30 minutes
Exactly.
before. I mean, that's
Mhm.
the genius idea.
And it's real easy, we meet right out there.
Yeah. I
We
know.
need it here.
It happens about 10 o'clock early anyway.
Right.
So it's just not a big
We're
deal.
just gonna be setting up around.
Or take John's idea and meet at Pat's across the street after the meeting.
We'll get creative over a couple.
Yeah, we'll get creative.
Is that right? Okay. Sign me up for that.
Okay, so are we good on this?
Yeah, and Outreach and Education just got the assignment for to do
Messaging.
the messaging and
I'm
what the
looking
funding
at
will take.
prioritizing events, I think
Yeah.
is gonna be important
And
too,
fundraising.
because now there's so many. And like you said, there's working group meetings and there's
Yeah.
ACES meetings and the ask has gotten quite large for ACES, so.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to the last topic, elections. So here we are, we need to vote for a new chair, new vice chair. Currently, I'm the chair for at least another 5 minutes. We have no vice chair in line. I don't know, how do we do this? Is people show what interest their position they're
We just
in?
nominate people.
I think
Or
you
nominate
decide people, or you say if you're interested.
Jim.
So, for the chair.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to be chair. Okay.
I second that.
It's unanimous.
I second.
Well, let's give people.
Structure here, John, structure.
In case anyone else wants to throw their hat in the ring.
Yeah,
Give space for that.
Someone else wants to be a chair, throw it out.
Nikki, you wearing a hat?
Sure, I was really interested, and I'd love to lead ACES or have a leadership role in ACES, even though the idea of it really scares me because I know the least about our town out of all of us. But I have been involved with lots of groups in Singapore, and I've held official roles before as secretary for a theatre company in Singapore. Singapore's oldest theatre company, I should say. And I would definitely like to put myself forward, but I've really had to think about the time commitment, and I'm not certain that I'm going to be able to give this enough attention, and I want to do a really good job. I don't want to let anyone down. So I would want to go into this 100% certain that I could give the time that it deserves. So, and I'm not sure right now. So I can't put myself forward.
Maybe vice chair?
Anyone else? Michelle, how about you?
No, I'm just running with Jim.
Okay, no? I can't.
Nikki, would you want to be vice chair?
You're trying to persuade me. I can feel the persuasion in the
Well,
tone of your voice.
I know that you want
What
to.
about vice chair? Jim, when Jim can't be here, so that's a good trial run.
You can't.
Yeah.
You meet with Alexis beforehand to go over the agenda and what.
So the chair and staff meet before each meeting to talk about agenda. The vice chair is welcome but not required to come to that. The vice chair's role is typically to fill in when the chair can't perform their duties. I think I sent out the official list, but that's essentially the long and short of it is mostly filling in. If the chair is unable to attend a meeting, run the meeting, or, represent in some other official capacity, it's not required to attend those pre-meetings, so it's a less involved role, but still obviously very important.
To give you background on my schedule, I have more time these days. I got one kid in college, one kid in high school, so I have more time than, a few years ago, you guys probably remember me missing me as a soccer practice, as a soccer coach and all that stuff, so I do have the time to give what this needs, and I'm excited about that, of course, so, yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy to be your chair if you guys vote for me, and Nikki, if you want to be a vice chair, that'd be fantastic, but I get it, you're at the other end of the spectrum, dealing with a young kid, so I get that too. So no pressure.
Well, maybe do I have to commit now? Because maybe we could have a side conversation about it. That would be really helpful. And you could talk through with me about your experience as vice chair. And then
Sure.
That would be probably a good next step.
Okay. Is there anybody else interested in vice chair? Well, I guess that leaves me,
We know that.
I will be contacting you.
Should we motion to,
Yes, please.
Yeah,
a motion for Jim Zarki to be the next chair for ACES, start there?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then I motion for Nikki to be the vice chair elect, vice chair, maybe, vice chair potential,
yes, in the next 29 days.
VCP for 29 days, 1 month temporary election.
Chair pro tem.
Chair pro tem, there we go.
Yeah. Does that work for you, Nikki? Oh, well.
And if it doesn't work, to say I can't do it.
Guys, so much pressure, you guys.
Otherwise, James will be the vice chair.
Yeah, we can have another election next
Yeah.
month, like for
Yeah.
vice chair.
Sure.
Somebody has to do it.
Miles
Yeah.
suggested just for a 30-day
Trial period.
that you be vice chair.
Yeah.
And then we'll have another election next month and
Why
whether,
not just let her talk to James and decide next?
because we have to vote.
I think we have to vote tonight. We need a vice
Do we
chair.
have to?
Yes.
Yes.
But
Yes,
we
we do.
can re-elect a vice chair next
Oh,
month.
yeah.
If he
Yes.
changes her mind, which I think is fully.
You can change your mind tomorrow.
She's very reluctant here.
That sounds like a plan. I'll do that.
You'll do the 30-day.
All right.
Okay.
Motion, can we,
Yeah.
do we have a second or do we,
Yeah, you want to.
motion for Nikki to be vice chair for the next 29 days?
Second.
Potentially more. All those in favor?
You've got her.
All right, so.
With this pressure, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. Or beer, whatever your preference is.
Cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
Yeah.
Cup of tea.
And everyone in this room, think about vice chair, think about it.
Yes.
You know, Nikki may or may not be convinced, so.
Nikki, it's gonna look really good on your resume for a month.
That's the important.
I'm not thinking about my resume, you know. I think, but you know, I'm,
I didn't mean to put myself on.
Yeah.
But that means
yeah, good for your resume, your career.
Your resume. You just get the jacket.
When you graduate in May, you might not be here too, so how are we assuming?
committed?
We have the second person that's.
Michaela will put it out in the
Okay.
goals that she does, so she's already planning to promote the ACES vacancy, but please, if you know anyone who lives in Superior, you think would be a great candidate. You know, we are looking for a spot to fill. So
Yeah.
please do put people forward if you can peer pressure any of your friends into this.
Yeah.
Maybe another person in downtown would be good. 'Cause
Would be great.
We lost Mike.
Yeah.
Downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Doesn't have
vendors.
to self, it's not required.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show up and tell you.
Please
Thank you.
Follow it.
Yeah.
There you go.
She's on the part. I mean, I don't know if there's a rule.
No, we have
A
some.
lot of volunteerism.
Okay.
All right, well, I think we need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Okay, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, adjourned at 7:31. All right, well, thanks, everybody. I'm excited.
Good job.